Today we'll be continuing to build a dungeon with webs, wood, and more. Art Jeremiah here. Welcome to my 6th installment of building a dungeon. Don't forget to like this video for the analytics so we can get it out to more crafters, and subscribe and click the notification bell below to regularly improve your dungeon crafting skills. And now let's get into the reason you clicked this video and jump right into that build. I'm going to skip past the boring parts of me cutting out the room and to the more interesting parts of this build. If you're interested in how I went about making the room itself, click the link I'm providing on the screen right now. I heard from one of Frankie D. Crafter's videos that PVA glue helps prevent Crayola air dry clay from cracking. If you have not yet seen his channel, I would highly recommend checking it out after watching this video. Anyway, using his technique, I form a ball of clay and add small amounts of glue until I'm happy with the consistency. Then I start sculpting the clay oven, which is one of the main features in this room. I use a knitting needle, a rubber-tipped sculpting tool, a brush, and of course my fingers in the sculpting process. After I'm happy with the shape, I use tweezers to push small pebbles around the opening. This is just to add a decorative element to the otherwise simple sculpt. For this next part, I will be using a wire brush to add a wood-like texture to a thin scrap of styrofoam I had sitting around. Though I used a large size wire brush for this video, a smaller one seems to be a lot more effective for this sort of project. After I feel happy with the wood texture on the flat piece of foam, I pull out my hobby knife and go to town on another piece of scrap. The goal is to give this piece a rounded wooden appearance, which proved relatively easy. I break the pieces randomly, the goal being to give the appearance of various sized logs. I also cut one in half lengthwise for a bit of variety. Going back to the flat piece, I use my knife and knitting needle to score and sculpt a small rectangular bit into some nailed wooden planks. I ended up making more than enough wooden objects for this room. I glued the planks and some logs randomly throughout the room to resemble a table-like object that has been violently destroyed somehow. I also glue several logs inside the clay oven. After I'm happy with gluing everything down, I leave the project to dry overnight. Next, I mix together black paint, PVA glue, varnish, and a few drops of flow improver. I'm going for a consistency similar to melted ice cream. I then slop this black mixture all over the tile. There were some hard to get spots under the boards and in the oven, so I used a smaller brush to reach these areas. And I wait another night for the paint to dry. Next up, I start painting the room. I use the same techniques and colors as my previous dungeon rooms. If you are interested in how I went about that, I recommend watching the video I am linking somewhere on the screen right now. Then, after we hit that like button, I paint the wood with 2 colors of brown. Specifically, I use Anita's Earth Brown Craft Paint and Apple Barrel Burnt Umber. It's hard to tell that I used 2 colors, but I did this to add a bit of variety and visual interest to the boards. After that, I mix a little bit of black ink and flow improver into some water and make a wash mixture. You can also add some varnish to the solution if you want to add a little bit more protection and thicken the mixture. I apply this to all the stone, the wood, and the oven. Then I leave it to dry. Next, I do a light highlight by dry brushing Apple Barrel's Antique White to the surface of everything. This is my go-to highlight for the majority of my terrain, as it gives me a warm, creamy highlight that really brings out all the details. And then I make a brown wash by mixing a little brown ink and flow improver into some water. I did thicken the mixture a little with some varnish. I apply this mixture to the wood pieces that are littered about the room. Once everything dried, I pulled out my Gorilla Glue gun. Honestly, this was the scary part, as I had never made webs with a glue gun before. I basically just squirted small dabs of glue out of the gun and then let them string out to make strands of webbing. If I squirted out too big of a glob, I would just take the head of the glue gun and dip it in the glob and pull out more strands of glue. In the end, I was happy enough with the result. It was a fun process and will make the players a bit more cautious when searching the room. I then do a one-over on all the areas with straight black paint before spraying it with a few layers of matte varnish. I appreciate you watching this video. If you enjoyed this content and would like to see more of this dungeon and other tabletop crafts, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell below so you don't miss out on anything. If you're interested in seeing a more detailed time-lapse version of this video and other videos, consider joining me through Patreon for as little as $1 a month. That said, I want to give a shout out to August and Paul, two of my most loyal patrons. Thanks so much for helping support this channel. And remember, don't forget to like this video as it truly does help get this video out there. Thank you so much.